Ant-Man goes up Kang's what? No, I'm kidding. Ant-Man doesn't go up anybody's ass. The thumbnail was just clickbait. I know, disappointing. Like, I don't understand. Marvel is making a huge mistake. Ant-Man is such a powerful character. He literally just has to shrink and go up the villains. Ant-Man and the Wasp 3 Quantumania was a fun, goofy sci-fi action movie. I had a good time. Paul Rudd's comedy combined with the action in the movie was pretty good. It was pretty good. I hadn't seen the previous Ant-Man movies. I never thought they were as fun as the other Marvel movies. But I had a good time watching this one. I thought that I would have to watch the previous Ant-Man movies to understand it, but everything is explained in the movie. There's a recap in the beginning, so there really wasn't much any need to watch the previous movies to understand this one. One thing I didn't know was, since when was Michelle Pfeiffer Scarface's wife in the Ant-Man movie? That's something I totally missed in the second movie. In fact, I didn't even watch the second movie. I think I watched the first 15 minutes before I got totally bored. In fact, this movie, Ant-Man 3, the most interesting parts was Michelle Pfeiffer and Kang's relationship. This movie should have been called Michelle Pfeiffer and Kang 3. Even though Paul Rudd is lead material, you know, the real show stealer was, again, Michelle Pfeiffer and Kang. The Paul Rudd's jokes had me chuckling. They were fucking hilarious. Ants. 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 Ant-Man. I went into this movie knowing what it is. You know, it's a fun, goofy, sci-fi action movie. I'm seeing critics rip this movie a new one like Ant-Man going up Thanos' ass. But the audience score in Rotten Tomatoes is really high. And deservedly so. It's a movie about a guy who talks to ants. It's going to be a silly movie. And given the previous Ant-Man movies were subpar, this movie was a big improvement and a lot of fun. There was a lot of funny moments in this movie. Paul Rudd's jokes, you know, it's a given. Paul Rudd is hilarious. He was making me chuckle throughout the movie. And Bill Murray was funny. A lot of the Quantum Realm characters were cool. Like the guy with no holes, that was hilarious. I wonder if we'll ever see him again in another Ant-Man movie like Korg in the Thor movies. There was a lot of cool characters, and there's a lot of characters in Ant-Man that really were unnecessary to the plot of the story. I'd say the main characters that really mattered was Ant-Man, obviously, Scott Lang, Michelle Pfeiffer, Kang, Ant-Man's daughter. She was like a real motivator for Ant-Man throughout the movie. Other than that, like Scott Lang's wife or girlfriend, whatever she is, the Wasp, she was kind of useless and not a very cool character, to be honest. Not very interesting to me. And it kind of sucks because, like, I like the actress. She was really good as Kate in Lost. Like, that's what I know her for. But other than that, like, she's just not that interesting in this movie to me. And I really don't see her as an integral part of this movie's story, or really an Ant-Man story to begin with. Besides being kind of a love interest, I guess, she's really not that important. You know, same with Michael Douglas. I mean, he's the original Ant-Man, I get it, but he's honestly not. He was kind of like a side character throughout this movie. It would have been cool if Kang killed the Wasp and Michael Douglas. It would have added like an extra element to this movie. It would have added like a real motivator for Ant-Man to go apeshit and kick Kang's ass. I'm really bummed that Edgar Wright didn't get to push his vision for Ant-Man. I think his version of the Ant-Man movies would have been a lot better than what's coming out right now. I've always considered the Ant-Man movies subpar. The only reason why I was interested in this movie was because of Kang. And it's because of that this movie really shines. Because of Kang and the fact that he's like giving Ant-Man a really hard time. Speaking of Kang, Jonathan Majors is a really dynamic actor, really good, man. I didn't, like, look, in the beginning, I was like, okay, I don't know what the big deal is. When I first saw him in Loki, I thought he was, like, okay. But it wasn't until I saw him in this movie and how he can, like, you realize how you can switch from, like, one way of playing Kang and another way of playing Kang, because as you know, Kang has different variants and each variant has a different personality. The fact that he can, you know, do that and play it off and sell it was really awesome, man. I'm really excited to see him face off the Avengers because he looks like a really intimidating foe. I will say one thing, it kind of didn't make sense to me at first that Ant-Man was fighting Kang. Like, it seems like the wrong villain, like in the wrong way to introduce this villain. Well, I guess he was introduced first in Loki, but it just seems like the wrong villain to have for Ant-Man. And it was like, it's like this really strong opponent that is supposed to take down the Avengers is getting his ass whooped by Ant-Man. It just didn't make sense to me in the beginning. But then I realized, you know, it doesn't matter because he has so many variants. So we haven't really seen the big baddie yet. So spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about the end credits scene. The King variant costumes, they looked a little weak, okay? But I hope they update those. Because remember, like the first time we saw Thanos in, I don't know, what was it? The Guardians movies or in, yeah, it was in the Guardians movies, right? The CGI didn't look that good, but it really improved by the time we got to Infinity War, and Endgame. So I'm excited to see the updated version of the Kang variants we'll see on the big screen once they really lock down the way they want them to look. Some of the action was really mind-numbing, and there was a lot of deus ex machina going on in this movie. But again, it's fine, you kind of brush it off, given it's just a fun, goofy movie. But I'm also a little concerned, given the same writer is going to write Kang Dynasty, like the big Avengers movie. Like, I hope that that same strategy, you know, for the plot isn't used for that Avengers movie. I mean, I don't know. I'll leave it to the professionals. I'm just a guy with a microphone. But please make this Avengers Kang Dynasty movie as good, or at least on par with Infinity War and Endgame. Overall, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania is a fun, goofy action sci-fi movie. There's a lot of funny parts that's fun for both the adults and kids, and it's a big improvement from the previous Ant-Man movies. Plus, we get a glimpse of Kang, and he's just a badass. I can't wait to see more of him. If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing. I'll be posting more videos like this one. My name is Scott Lang, and I'll see you next time when I go up Kang's cavity.